Have you ever felt completely trapped? Like you're surrounded by walls, with no way out, and your heart is just pounding with fear. It's a feeling we've all known in one way or another. And in those moments, it's so easy to feel utterly alone. Today, I want to share a story with you. It's not a story you'll find written chapter and verse in the Bible, but it's a story inspired by its timeless truths, specifically from the heart of Psalm 34. A lost lamb and a fear that seemed bigger than the sky itself. Let's imagine a young man named Elon. He wasn't a warrior or a king. He was a shepherd. His world was the rolling hills of Judea, the feel of the sun on his shoulders, and the familiar bleating of his flock. He knew each sheep by name. There was Asher, with one floppy ear, and old Zadok, who walked with a slight limp. But his favorite was a little lamb named Ziv, meaning radiance, because its fleece was as bright as a cloud on a sunny day. Ziv was curious and full of life, always straying just a little too far, but always coming back to Elon's call. One evening, as the sun began to paint the sky in shades of orange and purple, Elon led his flock toward the safety of the sheepfold. He counted them as they passed through the gate, a nightly ritual. 1, 2, 3, 98, 99. He counted again and again, the same number, 99. His heart sank into his stomach like a stone. Ziv was missing. Panic, cold and sharp, pricked at him. The sun was setting fast, and the wilderness was no place for a small, defenseless lamb. Predators roamed the shadows, and the rocky terrain was full of hidden crevices where a lamb could fall and be trapped. Elon's mind raced. Every fear he had ever imagined seemed to whisper in the wind. What if a lion had found him? What if he was injured, crying out where no one could hear? The what-ifs were a storm in his mind. He could just go into the fold, lock the gate, and be safe with the 99. It was the logical thing to do, the sensible thing. But love isn't always sensible, is it? He couldn't bear the thought of Ziv, alone and afraid in the growing darkness. The fear for his lamb was greater than the fear for himself. This is where our verse for today comes in. Psalm 34, verse 4 says, "I sought the Lord, and He answered me. He delivered me from all my fears." Elon, standing at the edge of the wilderness with his heart hammering against his ribs, did the only thing he could think of doing. He closed his eyes and prayed. It wasn't a long, elegant prayer. It was a cry from the heart. "Lord, God of my fathers," he whispered, "I am afraid. I am so afraid, but my lamb is out there. Please guide my feet. Still my shaking hands. Deliver me from this fear that freezes me, so I can find him." The shadows were still long and menacing. The wind still carried a chill. But something inside Elong had shifted. The panic was still there, but it was no longer in control. A quiet resolve settled over him. It was a courage that didn't come from his own strength, but from the simple act of seeking God. He grabbed his staff, a small lantern, and, without a second thought, he ran out into the descending night, calling Ziv's name into the wind. He searched for what felt like an eternity. He climbed over rocks, pushed through thorny bushes, his voice growing hoarse from calling. Doubt tried to creep back in. You'll never find him. It's too late. Go back. But every time that voice of fear whispered, Elon pushed it away, clinging to his prayer. He remembered the verse, "He delivered me from all my fears." It wasn't a promise that the scary things would disappear, but a promise that God would be with him. Asterisk, in asterisk, the scary things, and that God's presence was bigger than he heard it. A faint, weak, almost swallowed by the wind. His heart leaped. He followed the sound, scrambling down a steep, rocky ravine. And there, at the bottom, was Ziv. The little lamb was shivering, its leg wedged tightly between two large rocks. It was trapped and terrified, but it was alive. As Elon carefully worked to free the little lamb, he felt a wave of relief, so powerful it almost brought him to his knees. He gently lifted the trembling creature into his arms, holding it close to his chest. Ziv nuzzled into his shepherd's cloak, finally safe. And in that moment, Elong understood something profound. This brings us to the next part of our psalm, verse 5. Those who look to him are radiant. Their faces are never covered with shame. As Elon stood up, holding Ziv, the moon broke through the clouds, casting a silvery light over the hills. He looked up at the vast, star-filled sky, and his face, which had been tight with anxiety just a short while ago, was now filled with a quiet joy, a radiance that came from deep within. He wasn't ashamed of his fear. He was grateful for the deliverance. He had looked to the Lord in his desperation, and God had answered. The joy of finding what was lost, the relief from crippling fear, it lit him up from the inside out. Walking back to the sheepfold with the warm weight of the rescued lamb in his arms, Elon felt a peace he couldn't explain. The sounds of the wilderness were just sounds, not monsters in the dark. He had faced his greatest fears, the fear of the dark, of predators, of failure, of loss. He had come through, not because he was strong, but because he had sought a strength greater than his own. When he finally reached the safety of the fold and placed Ziv gently back with its mother, he sat down by the gate, utterly exhausted, but completely full. He pulled a small piece of bread and a water skin from his pouch. As he ate, the final verse we're looking at today echoed in his soul. Psalm 34, verse 8. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. Elon had done more than just eat a piece of bread. He had tasted God's goodness. It wasn't an abstract idea or a story someone else told him. He had lived it. He had experienced it in the frantic search, in the answered prayer, in the joy of the reunion. He saw firsthand that God's goodness wasn't just for the good times when the sun is shining and the flock is safe. It was for the dark, scary, uncertain moments, too. In fact, that's often where its flavor is the most rich and satisfying. He had taken refuge in God, and he had found that refuge to be real, strong, and blessed. This story of Elon and Ziv is a picture of our own lives. We all have things we are afraid of losing. We all face dark nights where our what-ifs scream louder than our faith. We all have moments where we feel trapped and alone. Psalm 34 isn't just a beautiful poem, it's an invitation. It's a roadmap for those scary moments. I sought the Lord, and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. It starts with an action. We have to seek him. We have to cry out, even if it's just a whisper from a terrified heart. It's an acknowledgement that we can't do it on our own. Those who look to him are radiant. Their faces are never covered with shame. The result of seeking isn't just rescue, it's transformation. When we look to God, his light shines on us and through us. There's no shame in being afraid, but there is incredible joy in seeing God work through our fear. Taste and see that the Lord is good. This is the most personal part. God's goodness is not something to just be studied. It's something to be experienced. You have to step out, trust him, and see for yourself. You have to take that first bite of faith. Maybe you're in that moment of panic right now. Maybe your Ziv, your health, your family, your job, your peace of mind feels lost in the wilderness. The fear is real and it is powerful. But the invitation of the shepherd Elon, the invitation of King David, who wrote this psalm, and the invitation of God himself is this: seek him, look to him, and prepare to taste and see for yourself that he is good. His deliverance might not look exactly like you expect, but he will answer, and he will meet you in your fear. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope this story brought you some encouragement. If it did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more stories that bring the Bible to life. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, take care and know that you are not alone.